Yeah, it was. I mean, a lot of the money that we spent went to the social media, and part of the reason for that is we know that an awful lot of young people, and even the older people, are on their smartphones or on their iPads or on their computers looking at social media. Facebook has gotten awfully big. Even the news stations, the radio stations are using it. So we paid particular attention to the social media. We got a couple of geeks in our campaign that
Geeks.
they're amazing. If my cell phone gives me problems, I give it to Nathan, and he takes care of it. But I'm still not comfortable with the social media. But
Right.
these people are my kids who all live in California. Are social media types, and they pick up. They're on top of this campaign. So social media is extremely powerful, and I don't know if that's the way for the future. I probably will be, but I don't know if I like it that much.
You don't like it? Well, Francis, your thoughts on social
I mean,
media?
I did my campaign on a very shoestring budget, and actually it was run by my son Nick, and it was strictly social media. I mean,
I
he
know
said,
Nick.
"Dad, we need to do
Okay.
something," and I said, "Son, it's okay. I'm fine." He goes, "No, it's not fine." I said, "The people decide." So he's the one that said, "Look, let's just do a little bit of a thing on Facebook, and I'll hit that out." And he put that stuff together, and thanks, Nick. I appreciate it all. But yeah, I mean, if we go back and we look really, the Obama campaign really was the true birth of this, how you do social media. I mean, even to this day, I still get messages, from the Obama campaign or the Democrats organizing for America, and that I think is really going to be the way future campaigns are run.
That's the new frontier for
Right,
campaigning.
for campaigning, because it's the way to reach the media. Our concern, and Ken, we've always shared this, is how do we reach the young kids to vote? There's really no, my kids always say, "Dad, there's no skin in the game for us." There's absolutely skin in the game for all of them because it's our island. But the key is how to perk their interest to get them to go listen to what's being discussed, and then more importantly, getting them out to vote. And I think,
How do you do that? What are the numbers like with you? I mean, just from my personal anecdotal experiences, a lot of the young people I talk to, whether it's friends, family, relatives, very apathetic towards voting.
I mean, I have that. That is exactly I mean, my sons are ranging from 22 to 31 with Nick, and the challenge for us is saying, look, it is important for you to vote. You don't. I mean, being a former senator, my father, I said, I don't like people coming up to me and say, "Well, we need your help." I said, "Well, do you at least vote?" And when they say no, I said, "Well, how do you expect for me to help you? That you got to vote. You got to use this privilege and the exercise you can." So I think the future is already dictated, and I like the way the campaigns put their stuff together. I mean, they would say, "Dad, you're on YouTube. I didn't know you spoke at that place." I go, "How did you guys know that?" He goes, "Oh, you were put on." And I go, "Oh my God," I mean. But that stuff was there all the time. You saw everybody using their smartphones or or just the cameras that are coming off the videos off cameras now. So I think, the future is already in place for us.
Voter registration is down, though. We're talking about the youth vote and getting that youth vote out. But do you think, is this trend going to continue? Voter registration seems to be going down more and more. And it seems to me, my opinion, what seems to be happening is the older generation were really big on voting, almost religious when it came to voting. And, they're unfortunately dying off as they get older. And it seems like they're not being replaced with the younger people. And maybe that's why voter registration is going down. Do you think there's ways to reverse that trend with social media?
That's classic. I served on the election commission from 1982 to the 1990s. And the worst voters on this island, I'm very serious about this, the worst voters on this island are the young voters. If you can go to the analysis that the election commission performs, the worst voters are the young voters. They don't. It looks like they really don't care. But there's a lot of young people that are coming out. Roy Respicio, Michael San Nicolas, they're all young. But they're
young by our standards.
Well,
it's not.
Okay.
All right. Well, Well, speaking of young voters, actually, we're going to check in with a young reporter of our own, Mrs. Rosel Romanes, who is standing by at the Gutierrez Gumatao headquarters. Rosel Romanes is one of our young, up-and-coming reporters here at PNC. She's standing by at the Gutierrez Gumatao headquarters down in Hagåtña next to the Port of Mocha. Rosel, can you tell us what's going on over there?
It is raining here at the Democratic headquarters, but we're still having fun. As you can hear, the music is still going, and it's dinner time. We're joined right now by Mike St. Nicholas. Can you tell us how your day went today?
It went very well. Everyone was very positive. It was a very, very good atmosphere. Everyone felt the heat towards the midday, but everyone was in good spirits. It was a good day.
And can you tell us about how you're feeling? Are you confident?
We gave it everything we got, and at this point, we just kind of got to leave it in God's hands. But I feel pretty good, and we did our best, and I can sleep well at night knowing that.
And how do you feel about being here?
We're here, always here, and it's going to be great. We're all waiting for good results.
All right, well, that's Mike St. Nicholas, and we'll get back to you with more here at the Democratic headquarters. Back to you guys at the studio.
All right, and that was PNC's Rosel Romanes over at the Gutierrez Gumatao headquarters in Hagåtña, next to the DNA building, I believe, is where the headquarters is at, next to Port of Mocha. And so, Kin, tell us about what was the vibe like when you were at the headquarters earlier today? Busy?
I think, yeah, it was busy and everybody was upbeat. And, we've heard all of the exit polls and even with the first report of the first precinct, I think it's number one, it's still too early, and I'm still upbeat. I think we're gonna take this election.
Okay, all right. Now we were talking again. Back to what we're talking a little bit about the young voters. Now, I guess the reason I keep bringing it up is because when I spoke to Guam Election Commission Executive Director Maria Pangilinan earlier on in the season, she was very optimistic that voter registration would increase because there's this issue on the ballot that a lot of young, hip people tend to gravitate towards. Now, they say this is a young people's issue. It's medicinal marijuana, of course. And the reason why is because traditionally, the older generation is thought of as looking at marijuana as a drug, whereas as an illegal drug, whereas the younger generation is more open to the idea of marijuana as a medicine or medicinal marijuana. And I myself, I actually know a lot of young people I spoke to who said, "Oh yes, medicinal marijuana. It's gonna pass. I'm gonna vote yes." Then I asked them, "Are you registered?" No.
Yeah. Well,
So how do you expect it to pass if you didn't register?
Yeah.
And I encountered a lot of young people who said, "Oh, medicinal marijuana. Are you registered?" No. How do you get them to register, other than passing out medicinal marijuana at the voter registration booth?
well, the challenge really was in a campaign such as the one with the medicinal marijuana, the proponents actually, I think that would have been their job, to get that particular voting sector, if that's what you want to call it, or segment to register to vote. If there was some level of importance for, the young voters, then every opportunity, Clint, every possible way to register was given to them. There was always a place that you could go. There's registrars all over the place. So if this initiative fails because not enough, young voters came out, then they can only blame themselves. If it was important a subject, it's typical, just a lot of talk but no action. So, again, this was maybe the one opportune time actually that this may be on the ballot, and who knows if it passes, that's great, and it will have that issue to face with. But I think the election commission at least did their job, getting getting it known that you can register to vote up to the deadline, and they failed to do it. That's their loss.
All right. Let's switch gears here a bit and let's talk a little bit about rifts between parties. You guys spoke a lot about how you believe that your party is very united. The different factions, Democrat Party came together united. I asked Frank Ariola about whether or not the Republicans were united, and he had to admit that there is a faction. You can't deny it anymore with Joanne Camacho coming out in support of Carl Gutierrez. That definitely shows that there's a bit of a rift in the Republican Party. How do you think that will play into this election? Ken?
Well, when people come out and say that say that it's a rift that can be bridged, it's very difficult. I know that it's taken us this long to try to get back together again, and we've been rifted since 2002, even before that. So for Franklin to say that we can bridge this thing really quick, I don't know, because the hurt that was felt by these people that got literally disenfranchised from the Republican Party, to me is very, very real. And if you go out there and I've heard it said that Franklin said that they see an 8-7 Republican majority. I really don't see that. I'm really seeing pretty close to a Democratic supermajority. And if Mary Torres wins, we know that Mary Torres and her family and Joanne Camacho and her family are supporting Carl Gutierrez. I can't see that Carl Gutierrez is going to lose tonight.
Okay. Francis, what are your thoughts on how this rift in the Republican Party plays out?
I mean, I'm glad to see it's on the other side too. I mean, we've lived far too long with the rifts in our party. I mean, you know, we played I mean, those of us that actually lived it, you know, it was painful to have to deal with, you know, the Carl Democrats, the Berdalio Democrats, then of course Robert Underwood stepped into the picture, and then I always called myself and, for example, Lou Leon Guerrero, the late Senator Ben, Tom Atta, Judy Wampat, we're just kind of like on the other side. You know, we weren't really part of that group per se, but we kind of gravitated towards who we felt would support us also. So the fact that that can exist now in the Republican Party, enjoy it, it's painful. You know, some of this stuff I felt got a little bit too personal. And, you know, I think Kim hit it right. A successful run by Mary Torres is going to be evident of what's happening in the Republican Party. And, you know, the Democrats, we've learned the hard way, you know, throughout all these years on how a split, factionalized group of people just can't, you know, I mean, we're lucky that we've been able to at least hold on to the majority throughout all these years because there have been some stalwarts that at least kept on. I mean, notwithstanding that, I think you brought up a very good point about what are the Democrats doing to nurture younger people to enter into public service. It's a very difficult thing to do. I mean, I applaud anyone that wants to come into public service because the demands are very difficult on the person. And, you know, people, I mean, sorry, you know, candidates that want to step up to do this, Clint, I mean, it takes a lot.
All right. Well, speaking of rifts in the Republican Party, let's check in now with the Republican Party headquarters, where our very own Blake Watson is standing by at the GOP headquarters. Blake, can you tell us what it looks like down there at the Republican headquarters? Blake.
368 votes.
Ready?
Number 7.
Hafaday, Guam, Blake Watson coming to you live from Anigua, the Republican headquarters, the heart of Anigua. The rain has started to come down, but that's okay. The spirits are not dampened out here. I'm here with Kat Scrow. She is VP of the youth group Be Heard for Cabo Tenorio. And Kat, I just want to ask you a couple questions since I've got you on. What was Be Heard's role in the election this year?
So what we really tried to do was to get as many youth
Again, that is
registered to vote. The demographic 18 to 35, those have the lowest voter turnout. So we really tried as much as possible to have a bunch of voter registration drives. We had a 3-day registration drive at the University of Guam where we registered about 50 UOG students for a couple months. Every weekend we had, leading up to the primary, we actually had voter registration drives at each of the malls. We had it at Yang Shopping Center, and we had it at GPO. So what we tried to do was not only get people registered to vote, but we wanted them to be informed about the candidates and about how they affect the youth. I think a lot of people think, oh, Cabo Tenorio, they did tax refunds, and of course, that's it. That's important, but they did so much that affected the youth, and it was important that we shared everything that they have done for people our age.
Wow, sounds like you've been busy for sure. So what do you think the biggest difference is from the last campaign to this campaign, that the different role that Be Heard has played in, you know, in comparison from last election to this election?
I think last election people were really trying to get to know who Calvo Tenoro really are.
Did you lose your train of thought?
I did. Sorry,
It's okay.
it's the feedback.
Yeah, it's the rain and the feedback. No worries. Anyways.
Okay, so last election they focused on a lot of community service, whereas this year we're focusing on getting a lot of the youth registered to vote, and like I said, just trying to say all of the stuff that these candidates have done the past 4 years, and we really hope that Guam voted and they're going to give them another 4 more years.
All right, well, for sure. And one more question, Kat. Are you proud of the turnout for the youth this election?
I am very proud.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right, well, Blake Watson coming to you live from Anigua, the Calvo Tenorio headquarters, the Republican Party headquarters. The rain is definitely falling, but nobody here is in a bad mood, I don't think, right? Everybody's still okay, yeah. So there you have it. Coming to you live from Anigua, I'm Blake Watson. Back to you in the studio for PNC.
All right, and thanks. That was Blake Watson. Good job, Blake, down there. And speaking of, we were just talking about the young voters, and he just got an interview with, I didn't catch the name, but she was someone from the Young Voter organization of Calvo Tenorio. The Be Heard is what they were calling their Young Voter organization. How about Gutierrez Guimatato? How did you guys do with the young voters?
Well, we have a young adult group.
Young adult,
That's very active. Many of them are young students from the University of Guam. And they're all voters, and they're all very active in the campaign. In fact, they've had several events, not only to raise funds, but just to get the vote out. Mm-hmm. And in a way, it's very heartening, because you got some of these young people that come out. These people will make the leaders of the upcoming leaders. But you still have Guam is essentially a young community, but they're still not out there. If you took a census right now of the young people on this island, and then took a census go to the election commission and had them do an analysis of who voted, the age groups that voted, you'll see it. They're just not coming out.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let's change it up here a little bit, and let's talk about the legislative race. We spent a lot of time talking about the gubernatorial race. There are other races going on. The legislative race, of course. Do you think the Democrats will take the majority? I've seen some polls that said it could be a supermajority. There's some talk about that. Some talk about a majority. I'm sure there's other people on the Republican side that would say otherwise. I've spoken to some Republicans who say they've seen numbers that show a possible Republican majority. I've spoken to someone who said they see numbers that show it's very close. It could be a pretty close split. Could be
8-7.
Yeah, 8-7.
Yeah. I think it was 9-6 in that first run.
No. 9. Yeah.
It was 9-6, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, well, I mean, I still think the Democrats have a better slate of candidates. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's two. I mean, the inclusion and the new candidate of Nerissa Underwood. That was certainly a big spark for us to
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the loss of Senator Bangalina was, put a big dent in our side.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the polling, whether you look at the exit poll, because the exit poll is 10-5.
Mm-hmm. Super majority.
And if that's going to be an indicator, and then the first run was 9-6, it looks like the Democrats will hold, the 33rd legislature, right? It's going to be coming up. So, I mean, and that's a good sign for our party.
Okay. Ken, what do you think? Do you think they'll retain the majority?
I think they'll retain the majority, and I'm actually confident that they're going to get a supermajority.
You really think it'll be 10-5?
Yeah. I don't think there's any way they can keep Nerissa out. Mm-hmm. And you've got 9 guys there that are already strong. Okay, and then if you look at some of the polls that came out, or some of the polls that came out, actually seeing Jim Espaldon coming in, Frank Blas coming in. Okay, so you're not gonna keep out Mary Torres. And now here's a good question: where does Mary Torres side? And she was treated badly by the Republicans. I think they're going to have a problem with her.
So you're saying that if Mary got in and there's 10 Democrats, it would be a super duper majority.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the strategist in us for Ken and I is you automatically go and court her. You know, I mean, good politics will tell you, you know, you got a disenfranchised Republican over there. She's really not sure. Get her over on our side, and you know, you can offer her a few more things and a few more goodies as being the majority. And there's some smart guys over there. I mean, I would expect that Speaker Wampad and the rest of the Democrats would try to figure out how to make that work. I mean, you've seen it done in Congress where you get an independent. Joe Lieberman comes to mind, where he was the most prolific of the independents that was able to be a Democrat and Republican at the same time. But anytime you can get that one extra vote you need, especially in overrides, that is key. And you know, that would certainly help if Mary Torres is successful in getting in. And
You got two others. You got Jim Espaldon and
Oh,
Frank
yeah,
Blas,
right.
who are also not treated very well by the Republicans. And
Well, the Republicans would say otherwise. I saw them come out with some ads and stuff and saying, "Oh, yes, they're getting support from Frank Blas as well as his father, Frank Blas Sr." You guys are smiling over here like you
Well,
don't believe it. You don't believe it?
the real politics tells us that you know well, the latest one I heard was that vote all 14 Republicans except Mary Torres. I'm going, how can you say that? I mean, you know, that's kind of difficult to do. I mean, you're out there campaigning. If she just happens to be walking the street with them, what are you going to say? Don't go over there. Don't vote for Mary. And then she comes up to the door and says, "Well, they just told us not to vote for you." Yeah, I mean that's a dangerous game to play, Clint. And you know, there's my friends on the other side. They're too smart for that. That's a dangerous game to play when you're dealing with you know, a major political family on their side, wanting to get their, you know, Mary Torres into the elected leadership of this island.
So aside from Mary, you were talking about Jim and Frank.
Yeah.
Jim Espaldon and Frank Blas. Do you think they could actually swing over and vote? I guess on certain issues it's possible, right? Vote with Democrats.
those two are basically independent voters. And if you look at, Francis was talking about the power of the family. Mary Torres is Mary Camacho Torres. Her father was the first elected governor of Guam. Her brother was an elected governor of Guam. And you're going to throw her under the bus? Boy, that's the worst political strategy I've ever heard. And you know, Jim Espaldon, his father was a senator, Dr. Espaldon. His mother was director of public health for 8 years. Frank Blas Jr. is the son of Frank Blas Sr., who happened to be the lieutenant governor for 8 years and a senator for a long time. It's just a bad game of politics.
Yeah, I think and actually, for those of us that, you know, really studies, I love being the politics on the side. And I think what we're looking at really is notwithstanding what happens tonight, everyone is going to, I'm sorry, not everyone, the elected leaders that come forth tonight, someone among that group is posturing to be the next governor of Guam.
Yep.
Make no mistake. I mean, that to me is what I'm watching for in this particular set of races, is how certain individuals, the Frank Uggan, for example, my good friend Jimmy's my classmate. You know, I've talked about it. So Jim, is there higher office in your ambitions? And he says, of course. And I said,
So you think he'll run again?
Oh yeah, I think absolutely
higher
Jim will
office.
run. Yeah, and I said, well, you know, then obviously how you place in this election, of course, dictates what's going to happen for the 2018
What
run.
about Frank Blas Jr.? You think he would
Don't-
run
I mean,
again?
every one of these guys, you know, because they've made the run for the big office kind of tickets, and you never count those people out because they've already had a taste of what it takes to run those type of campaigns. Because like I said earlier, Clint, it's a very different campaign from a senatorial campaign.
Definitely. Let's talk about the congressional race. We just talked about Frank Blas Jr. He ran for Congress last time. He took a break, and now he's running for senator this time. But in the congressional race now, Berdalio seems to have a pretty good opponent in Margaret Metcalf. I mean, compared to some years in the past where she didn't even have opponents or didn't. But this year, there's been some talk about Margaret Metcalf. Some people think she's a strong opponent. Do you think she's a stronger opponent than Frank Blas Jr. was?
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, Ken, I'm sorry, you can't talk about Auntie Madeline to us like it's done. I mean, you know, people that want to run and forget it. I mean, it's over. I mean, you know.
You think she's unbeatable?
She is unbeatable
in Congress.
She's unbeatable. I mean, the only blunder Maddie can do is Auntie Madeline is her own blunder. And that's not going to happen. I mean, you got handlers like Ken, John Witt, and all the other guys. I mean,
Well, Ken's not there anymore.
no, absolutely,
Now it's
Ken is
John
still
Witt,
there.
and
No, I
okay, so you
make
still
make
got
no
other guys
mistake.
to
I'm
help
sorry, treasurer, Joaquin Paris.
out. Okay.
Okay, so if you're not, I mean,
Okay.
it used to be my wife, and no, Auntie Madeline is you know, she'll continue to be our congresswoman and our
Okay.
voice in Congress.
Do you think she'll ever run for governor again or anything else? Or do you think she'll
Well-
just keep running for congresswoman?
I tell
That's
you
Ken's
what,
fault.
I tell you what, when I retired from her office, the first thing I asked her is to run for governor. I wanted her to run this election.
This election.
For governor, but she likes her job. She has things she wants to accomplish, and
She has some unfinished business in
that's
Congress.
what she says. That she said that she has unfinished
Like
business.
what, war reparations? Or?
War reparation. I give up on that one.
You give up on war reparations?
But but there are things
I don't think
that
that's the
she
message
wants.
she wants to get out, though. I think the last time I spoke to her, she said she's still pushing for
She's
war
still
reparations.
pushing for it, and you know, it's almost it's not an obsession, but it's a goal that she wants to
Right.
reach, because Madeline's biggest supporters are the older people on this island. I mean, you can't break that. You can't break that bond, and she genuinely feels for them. Remember that she came to Guam when she was 14 years old, right after the war. So she saw the suffering, and it's in her. That's as simple as that. And to me, anybody that wants to even think, I told Frank Bloss that he couldn't beat her.
So
It's-
it's a waste of time for anyone.
Well, I mean, again, it's an exercise in politics, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, Auntie Madeline, you know, I mean, you will occupy that seat for as long as you want, and we can only hope that someday, you know, the rest of Congress and the rest of the U.S. will recognize that the people of Guam, you know, did do the suffering out here, and then hopefully reparations will pass, and you know, then you can rest your laurels and enjoy into the rest of your life out there.
You know, one of the things, Clint, that I tell people is, do you really want to be put out there as the person, the man or the woman that tries to beat up on Madeline Berdalia? Man, I tell you, that is a mistake.
All right. All right, gentlemen. Well, thanks for joining us. We hope at least one of you will stick around. I believe Jay
I'm
Rojas.
volunteering, Ken.
Jay Rojas will be coming up
He's
soon.
right there, right?
We're going to take a little break here, and we're going to go check in with some other programming we have from earlier in the day. I believe it was PNC, some of our radio personalities talking about what the election means to them. But we'll be back, and we'll have Jay Rojas join us, and hopefully one of you will stick around.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Let's check in now with PNC's Janela Carrera, who is standing by at the University of Guam Fieldhouse with the very latest results. Janela, tell us what the latest results are.
Right over here at UOG Election Central, we have some more results to report. Right now, about half of the precincts have been counted, 24 precincts total. And some of those villages include Mangilao, Sinahanya, Jotnya, Chalampago, Barragata, Maritso, Tumuning, and Dedido. So we'll get right to it. Right now, for the gubernatorial race, we have Calva Tenorio on top at 7,361 votes, with Gutierrez Gumatauta at 3,914 votes. That's about a 65% to 34% difference. Now, for the senatorial race, we have Frank Uggan Jr. on top, once again at 7,448 votes. Dennis Rodriguez at 6,842 votes, Tony Ada at 6,771 votes, Jim Espaldon at 6,279 votes, Tommy Morrison 6,185, Tom Ada at 6,153, Mary Camacho Torres at 5,674, Frank Blas Jr. at 5,421 votes. We have Tina Munoz Barnes, 5,401 votes. Judy Wanpat at 5,372 votes. Michael St. Nicholas at 5,332. Narissa Underwood, she's at 5,289. BJ Cruz, 5,155. Brant McCready, 5,051. And Aline Yamashita, 4,947 votes. That rounds out about your top 15. And again, this is only half of the precincts that have been counted. The rest include Rory Respicio, 4,909. Chris Duenas, 4,884. Will Castro, 4,646. Adonis Mendiola, 4,444. Glenn Leon Guerrero, 4,183. Adolfo Palacios, 4,047. And then we have Judy Guthertz at 3,919. Hope Cristobal, 3,544. Roland Blas, 3,379. Derek Bazahills at 2,787. Michelle Titano, 2,782. Felix Beneventi, 2,276. Valentino Perez at 2,246. Rodney Cruz, 2,109, and Frank Ngakta at 1,100 votes. Now, over at the delegate race, we have incumbent Madeline Bordello with 6,641 votes. Margaret Metcalf, 4,790 votes. Now, for the AG race, right now we have Elizabeth Barrett Anderson is leading out on top, and it looks like pretty much a landslide victory, 7,596, 3,639 for Lenny Rapatis. Now, again, this is only half of the precincts that have been counted. Now, over onto the medical marijuana referendum. I know a lot of people are tuning in for that right now. Yes votes, 6,371. No votes, 4,866, and that's about a 56% to 43% difference. And again, this is only 24 of the 58 precincts that have been counted so far. Too early to tell whether or not this is an indicator of who's going to win tonight. But as soon as the votes keep coming in, we'll keep reporting them live to you right here over at UOG Election Central. Back to you, Clint.
Thanks very much, Janella. That's PNC's Janella Carrera, live from the University of Guam Fieldhouse Election Central, where all the ballots are being tabulated. And I am joined in studio with Mr. Jay Rojas. Jay, thanks for joining us.
Half a day, Clint.
Half a day, half a day. Half a night?
Half a night?
Oh,
yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
Okay, so it is daytime, actually. It's now Wednesday. It's 12:21 Wednesday morning. Thank you for coming to this early morning hour to join us. What do you think of the numbers? They obviously bode well for your team. And now, for people who don't know, Jay Rojas is the Washington liaison for the governor's office, correct? Is that correct? Basically, he's the liaison for the Washington, D.C. office for the Governor Calvo's office.
Absolutely.
And so, of course, you're supporting Governor Calvo. And
I most definitely am. I most definitely am.
And what do you think of the numbers? So they show Calvo Tenorio was in the lead with 7,361 votes to Gutierrez Gumatauta with 3,914 votes. What do you make of that?
I actually I'm extremely happy with those numbers. What we're looking at is the fact that Guam is actually really happy with what Governor Calvo and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio have been doing for the past 4 years, and they're ready for another 4. And that's really promising because we can continue in the right direction, of course, for us to be able to do what we've been doing in the past 4 years. And now we have another 4 years to be able to accomplish even more.
Now, do you think this has set a trend for how the rest of the night's going to go? I understand some of the precincts reported were some Deredo precincts, some Tamuning precincts, some Southern precincts. I think Molesto, I heard, a couple others that I didn't catch all of the precincts, but Deredo is definitely big precinct. So that's, and Tamuning, Deredo and Tamuning are really big. What do you think that means?
I think what we really want to take a look at is how much of a mix we have within these villages. Mm-hmm. Tamuning is essentially pretty much a Republican stronghold, and then Deredo is actually pretty much a Democratic stronghold. Mm-hmm. And for us to be doing so well with Deredo being reported as of now, I think that's actually extremely promising that those numbers are going to continue in that same scale. I think when we do the calculations, we're pretty much at a 65% lead over the Gutierrez Gumatauta side. So if we can continue that, I think that we'll be very happy. And actually, that does actually send a strong message that again, we're performing right, we're doing the right things, and the way that we're moving with the governor, lieutenant governor is really where we want to go.
So let's talk now about the legislative race. In the legislative race, so far Frank Uggan Jr. Has the most votes with 7,448, followed by Dennis Rodriguez Jr., 6,842, Tony Atta, 6,771, then Jim Espaldon, then Tommy Morrison, Tom Atta, Mary Torres, Frank Blas Jr., Tina Munoz Barnes, Speaker Judy Wanpat, Mike St. Nicholas, Narissa Underwood, B.J. Cruz, Brant McCready, then Aline Yamashita right there at number 15 so far. Do Do you think this is going to change much? I think it's showing, what is it, an 8-7 split majority for the Democrats right now?
I think if you look at the top 10, I think they're pretty safe where they are right now. What we really want to be able to take a look at are those candidates that are in the 11 through 15, and then of course the 16 through 20 range, because that's really what's known as the bubble. So that's really where a lot of the activity is going to move. You may have a couple of people shift, between 1 or 2 places within the top 10, but you're going to see a lot more people actually move above and beyond that 15 line. Once we start to get through the end of the night. I mean, but then again, you're also looking at about half of these precincts reported. So, you can actually start to take a look at exactly where that's going to go. I think it's unfortunate. I would have liked for a Republican majority, and I think we still have that chance. We've got 4 strong candidates that are just underneath that 15 mark line. So the fact that they can actually still move up and take over, that 9th or 10th spot, their 8th or 9th spot for us, I think is definitely possible.
Who are those candidates, you think?
Actually, Chris Duenas is there, Will Castro is there,
Okay.
Adonis Mendiola, and then Glenn Leon Guerrero.
They're sort of hanging right below that 15.
They're hanging right below that
level.
line.
Right after Yamashita. Right now, Yamashita is at 15 with 4,947 votes. But Rory is close with 4,909 votes, followed by Chris Duenas with 4,884, Will Castro 4,646, and Adonis Mendiola 4,444. And Glenn Leon Guerrero, 4,183. So those,
you're
there could be some room there.
You're looking at 500 votes that actually separate number 19 and number 15.
Good point.
So that's less than what I believe it's like 5% of what we're looking at here. So that can move quite a bit. All it takes is one strong one strong precinct for one candidate versus a weak precinct for someone who's actually above that 15 mark line, and that's where that mobility is going to be able to take place. So I'm not giving up yet, and I'm not actually convinced with these numbers. I really do think that the Republicans are going to pull through and actually end up with a majority in the legislature. So, if we have to wait until the 58th precinct is actually counted, then I think we'll do that, because we'll see quite a few changes when it comes to those 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th, and 15th spots.
All right. Now let's talk about the delegate race. In the delegate race, Congresswoman Madeline Berdallo, 6,641. To Margaret Metcalf, 4,790. Do you think that is going to continue?
I think that may actually continue just as much as our gubernatorial race is actually pulled through. That's quite a large set of numbers for us for Auntie Puddin or Margaret Metcalf to be able to pull through. But again, she's played a strong game, and I think there's still some hope for her to be able to kind of pull through a little bit further. Okay. My position in Washington is there to be able to work with whatever congresswoman is in there. So whichever one of these 2 women make it into that position, I would love to be able to work with Governor Calvo's policies just to be able to make sure that we're doing the right thing in Washington, D.C. as well.
All right. Now, here's something interesting. Medical marijuana. I know a lot of people are very interested in what's going to happen with the medical marijuana. Right now, it's overwhelmingly yes, with 7,951 yes votes to only 1,733 no votes.
I'm actually pretty surprised.
That's a big lead
that's actually a very big lead.
Yeah. A very high lead.
It's a very high lead in a very wide margin. Very high.
No pun intended.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
No pun intended.
It's 12:30 in the morning. Come on, Clint. You can't pull that stuff on me.
Okay.
But I was actually very surprised with that. You're coughing. That's actually pretty funny too. So in essence, I do not want to be in my colleague Jim Gillam's shoes right now, because public health is actually going to have to come up with these policies.
They're going to have to figure out how to actually do it. Let's talk about that medical marijuana. The way the law is written now is, if it passes, the Department of Public Health, James Gillen, if he's still the Department of Public Health, which if the trend continues and Calvert Scenario wins, he'll likely remain Public Health Director, right? He's going to have, like you said, a huge task ahead of him. It's actually drafting all the rules and regulations for how the marijuana, who will be licensed to grow it, who will be licensed to sell it in a dispensary, or will it go to the pharmacy somehow? How will it be administered? How will the medical marijuana program be administered?
I think public health is going to have to go through and look at how the program is going to be administered. But we're also going to have to look at revenue and taxes when you start to take a look at taxing and licensing and how that's going to work. And that's one thing that this cabinet has done very well, is actually work together. All of us actually look to each other for our strengths and weaknesses, and this is, I think, is that collaboration that shows within the Calvo Tenorio leadership that if anyone's going to be able to pull this through, then it's our leadership that's going to be able to make sure that that happens.
Well, I think the good news is for Gillen, if he has to implement this, if it passes, which it's really headed in that direction with 7,951 to 1,733 no votes. Gillen can pull from other states who have already done it. You've got states that have fully made recreational marijuana legal, but they started with medicinal marijuana.
Yep.
Colorado, Washington, California. I forget how many states, but there's quite a few that have medicinal marijuana, and so they already have rules and regulations that he can sort of learn from. He can borrow some of the rules and regulations and look at their statistics and look at where areas where their programs may have fallen short, may have failed, and where their programs did well, and pull from that.
I like this because you're starting to think like a policy guy now. And you know, in essence, that's exactly what we can do when we start to take a look at that. Again, DC is actually probably the closest area that does have a medicinal marijuana law that's
There
in
we go,
place.
you're in DC.
And you know, one of the things that we have to take a look at, however, is our population is so small. So if we look at their policies fit between the gaps that they have in their populations, which are 10, 20 times our size. But we have to take a look at what's going to work for a population of 160,000, 180,000, and how it's going to work for us for the benefit of making sure that it's going to be fiscally responsible for the government, that we're making the right decisions, that we're not going to make, you know, that there aren't going to be too many issues when it starts to come down to both the social side and then the safety side. And that's really where that big, you know, where we have to weigh everything back and forth.
Okay. Now, let's see. There's a couple other races here. We've got, for the Attorney General's race, Elizabeth Barrett Anderson in a comfortable lead right now with 7,596 to incumbent Lenny Rapadas, 3,639. Elizabeth Barrett Anderson looking very strong with 24 precincts in. There's 58 precincts total. Do you think she's going to win?
You know, I think that was essentially a tough race, and I say it's a tough race because you know, Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, she's got the resume, you know, former Attorney General, former judge, she's got the reputation as well. So I think that made it kind of tough for Lenny just to be able to kind of combat that. You know, the fact that you know, Miss Barrett Anderson was a judge at the time that Lenny ran. I think that actually the last time in the last election where he did actually get elected for Attorney General, I think that did make a big difference. But you know, now that she's available and retired, I think that's really where where her strength's going to go.
Jay, I'm going to have to interrupt you there. We have some new results.
Great.
At the University of Guam Fieldhouse, Janela Carrera is standing by at the University of Guam Fieldhouse. I understand a new batch of results are in. Things are going pretty fast. The last results we reported were 24 precincts out of 58. We'll find out how many more are in now, and let's see where the number's at. Let's check in now with Janela Carrera up at the University of Guam Fieldhouse, Election Central, where the ballots are being tabulated. And again, we had 24 of 58. Janela, how many more ballots are in now? Tell us about it. All right,
Hafa Clint, things are starting to go
Hafa-day.
really fast here over at UOG. We have some new results to report. This is 41 of 58 precincts counted so far. And with the gubernatorial
48.
race, we have 12,677 votes for the Calvo Tenorio team, the incumbent. For the Gutierrez-Gumatauta, we have 6,889, nearly half less of what the Calvo Tenorio team garnered. Now for the senatorial race, we have Frank Uggan Jr. once again on top with 12,764. Dennis Rodriguez with 12,037. Tony Atta, 11,503 votes. Jim Espaldon at 11,221. Tommy Morrison, 10,783. Tom Atta at 10,606. Mary Torres, 9,950. Narissa Underwood, 9,488. Frank Blas Jr. at 9,281. Judy Wonpat, 9,278 votes. Tina Munoz, 9,180 votes. Mike San Nicolas, 9,072 votes. We have BJ Cruz, 8,854. Brant McCready, 8,738. Aline Yamashita, 8,619. Now, I believe that's the top 15 vote getters. And for the bottom 15, we have Rory Respicio at 8,585. Chris Duenas 8,492, Will Castro 7,953, Adonis Mendiola 7,537, Glenn Leon Guerrero 7,335, Adolfo Palacios 6,960, Judy Guthert 6,668, Hope Cristobal at 6,057, Roland Blas 5,676, Derek Baza Hills at 4,968, Michelle Titano with 4,893 votes, Valentino Perez 3,925 votes, Felix Beneventi 3,893 votes, Rodney Cruz 3,478, and Frank Ngakta at 1,855. Now for the congressional race, we have Madeline Berdalia on top at 11,532 votes. Margaret Metcalf has 8,339 votes. And as for the Attorney General race, we have Elizabeth Barrett Anderson once again on top at 13,015 votes. That's about more than half of what Lenny Rapadas garnered currently at 6,458 votes. But once again, this is only 41 of the 58 precincts counted. Now over to the medical marijuana referendum. Just give me a second while I flip over here. We have 10,914 yes votes and 8,548 no votes. It's actually quite close. Unlike the AG race and the other races, this is actually quite close. 56% in favor, 43% not in favor of medical marijuana. And again, things are going really smoothly and fast. Results are coming in quite quickly now that they've got a momentum going and counting these ballots. So we'll check back with you again in a few minutes as the results keep coming. Once again, thank you. We're here at Election Central at the UOG Fieldhouse. Now back to you, Clint.
That's PNC's Janella Carrera reporting live from the University of Guam Fieldhouse, and she just gave us the very latest results. And let's talk about it with Jay, Mr. Jay Rojas. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for writing down those notes. I wasn't able to get down all of that. All I was able to get was 48 precincts, 48 precincts out of 58. So we've got like 10 more precincts to go. Stay with us because this thing's going to be over soon. I mean, it could be the next half hour and the thing could be over. And right now, 48 out of 58 precincts boding very well for Cabo Tenorio.
I got a smile from ear to ear. I mean, I really don't know how much more to say. I think this again just basically show that we are going in the right direction.
Cabo Tenorio, just to recap, 12,677 votes for Cabo Tenorio to Gutierrez's Gutierrez Gumatauto 6,889 votes. And again, that's 48 out of 58 precincts. That's a majority of the precincts already counted. So definitely it's looking like right now it's definitely looking like Cabo Tenorio is going to take it. They're in a really strong lead with only 10 precincts left. It's going to be really difficult for Gutierrez Gumatauto to bridge that gap from 6,089 to 12,677. But of course, we don't want to call anything until the election's over. It's still going on. 10 more precincts to come in, so you never know what might happen.
I don't know. With only 10 precincts to come up with, I don't even know if there's 6,000 voters in those 10 precincts.
Well,
so
you never know, right?
Well, exactly. But I'm just, I'm just still smiling.
All right, good news for you and your candidates. Now, you were able to jot down. Can you read it to us? Who were the 15 top 15 vote getters in the legislative race?
It looks like, without the actual quantitative data, Frank Uggan, Dennis Rodriguez, Tony Atta, Jim Espaldon, Tommy Morrison, Tom Atta, sorry, Mary Torres, Narissa Underwood, this is Frank Bloss, Judy Wanpat, Tina Munya Barnes, Mike Nicholas, BJ Cruz, Brant McCready, and Elaine Yamashita. So I think with what I told you before we got
there was
those
some
results,
juggling, yeah.
Actually, there wasn't much.
There wasn't?
Everyone pretty much stayed pretty much in the same place. So, let's just basically take a look. But again, we'd have to take a look at what precincts are included in those 48, what 10 precincts are still missing, and then I think the 16 through 20 are pretty much the same as well.
Well, right now with Cabo Tenorio in a strong lead, let's check in with the Gutierrez Gumatauto headquarters. Gutierrez Gumatauto headquarters, the Democrat headquarters. PNC's Rosel Romanes is standing by. Rosel, what is it like over there at the Democrat headquarters?
We are here with Senator Tina Muñoz-Barnes at the Democratic headquarters. Tell us first, how was your day?
It was very busy, Roselle. My husband and my daughter and I went around all the villages, dropped some refreshments, and we ended up at Wedding Gal and Dedido. And the cars did not stop coming in to vote. And I just want to take the time to thank all the people who took the time to exercise their right to vote. There was a very important issue on the ballot also, and just being able to exercise their right to vote made me feel really good. And I want to thank the Gutierrez Kumatau team and all the volunteers who are out here, still out here. We had it was raining earlier, a shower of blessings that came on from our Heavenly Father, but we're still very excited here. We're still very hopeful, and I'm just glad to be here tonight.
All right, and from the latest results, you are number 9 so far. How do you feel about that?
I'm very appreciative to the people for giving me the opportunity. I know that it's not over. I know that a lot of precincts still need to come in, and I just thank the people of Guam for giving me the opportunity to continue to be their public servant. And I want to thank all the voters out there. I want to thank my family, my husband, my children, my grandchildren, my friends, and my relatives out there, and just everybody who took the time to exercise their right to vote. I'm so appreciative of that, Roselle. It means a lot.
Okay, and how do you feel that the Democrat is in the lead with about 8, I believe?
I'm very hopeful for a supermajority, and right now it's 8-7, and I do know that a lot of my colleagues are still in, the incumbents are still in, so I'm very appreciative of that. But the night's not over. We're still hoping to garner more seats, and I'm hopeful that when some of the northern precincts come in, that the numbers will change and will be a lot higher.
Okay, last question, medicinal marijuana. Yes, it's ahead so far. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm very appreciative again to the people for exercising their right to vote on this very important issue for all the right reasons, to help those who are suffering from debilitating health issues, giving them an opportunity to choose how to ease their pain. Roselle, it's not an easy task knowing when people are suffering from debilitating health issues. Some of them are at the end stages of their life, and some loved ones would just like to make it easier for them. I'd like to take the time to thank the Conception family for stepping up to the plate to share their testimony about their loved one who had to endure the pain and suffering, who had to leave Guam to get an alternative remedy off island. Of course, he didn't come home. He passed away back there, but I want to thank the family for sharing their story and stepping up to the fight to bring the educational awareness out on how medicinal cannabis could help our patients here who are suffering. And I know it's not an easy journey, but it is a start, and the people have been very receptive. They understand the need for those who are suffering, and I'm very grateful. And I also like to thank my co-sponsor of the bill, Senator Aileen Yamashita, who stuck with me through thick and thin. We did not give up on this journey, and to the veteran out there who shared his story with me, we're listening, and we will continue to work on this issue of great importance. And having the people be given the opportunity to vote is very, very important to me. So I'm very grateful, and I thank them for exercising their right to vote.
All right, anything else you want to add?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. We're here at the Gutierrez Kumatau camp. We're still very high-spirited. There's, things can change, numbers can change, and we are still looking at a majority for the legislature, and of course our congressional delegate, the Honorable Madeline Zebra-Dalliu. She'll be coming back in. It was a good race. Both candidates are great, and the Democrats I know will prevail, so I'm very happy.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll be interviewing more of the candidates, so stay tuned. Back to you guys at the studio.
All right, thanks very much, Rosel. That's PNC's Rosel Romanes there at the Democrat headquarters over in Agotnya, and she just spoke with Senator Tina Muñoz-Barnes. Tina Muñoz-Barnes, of course, the champion of medicinal marijuana. That's her bill that she actually placed on the ballot through a strange thing, not strange thing, an uncommon thing, which is a legislative submission to get it onto the ballot. Most people are familiar with voter referendums that are placed on the ballot via some sort of petition drive or something. In this case, she put it on the ballot, got her senators, her fellow senators to vote for it, enough senators to vote for it. Get it on the ballot. There was some challenge for a while. There was a couple of challenges where some people tried to get it off the ballot. Stayed on the ballot. Right now, it's at 10,900 yes votes and 8,500 no votes. What are your thoughts about that, Jay? Are you surprised?
Again, I actually still am surprised, but again, this is one of the reasons why someone's vote is so important. When it comes to something as important as this, when you have your elected leaders who are back and forth, and who basically are for it for some reasons but against it in others, the best thing to do is actually to throw it out towards the people and have the people decide. I think the people are deciding that medicinal marijuana is something that we should be looking at, but then again, hey, they're also deciding that Calvo Tenorio should be there for the next 4 years. And again, that they've spoken, and we can kind of go from there.
All right, now, and Madeline Berdalio, 11,532 votes to Margaret Metcalf's 8,339. What do you think about how Metcalf is faring this far?
I think Margaret Metcalf is actually doing very well in this election. To be able to come up against the Madeline Berdalio and everything that she's done in the past 12 years, and to have that high of a count, I think is actually excellent. She's got a great standing, and what we really want to be able to take a look at is, again, where those 10 precincts are coming from, and what those other 10 precincts are actually going to be able to pull through. But that's a really strong placement when it comes to Madeline Berdalio, and I think she's challenging her quite a bit.
All right. And again, back to the legislative race, it's still 8-7 split, is that correct?
Yep, that's it.
8-7 split, Frank Hogan Jr. In the lead.
Dennis Rodriguez. Tony Atta.
Go ahead and read them off.
Jim Espaldon, Tommy Morrison, Tom Atta, Mary Torres, Narissa Underwood, Frank Bloss, Judy Wampat, Tina Munya Barnes, Mike San Nicolas, BJ Cruz, Brant McCready, and Senator Aileen Yamashita.
All right. Do you still think that with only 10 precincts left, Republicans can swing that 8-7 in their direction?
The 16 through 20 actually hasn't moved in any of the placements. So there's still that one person. There's one Democrat in the 16 through 20 spot and 4 Republicans. So we're looking at the possibility of 2 or 3 of those being able to move
that
up to 15.
That one Democrat is Rory, right?
Is Rory Respicio, correct?
Respicio is right there at number 16. So we'll see. If he goes up, he could replace Aileen Yamashita. If he knocks her out, then that would make it 9-6. Back to where it's at now, right?
Back to where it's at now, but if he's actually if we're actually able to get 3 or 4 of those Republicans up above Rory, and then take a look at Mike San Nicolas and BJ Cruz, then that's really what we can take a look at.
Very interesting race so far.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about a couple other issues now. Obviously, you're happy with the Calvo Tenorio team's placing so far. What do you think about with the gubernatorial race? Now, there's a lot of talk about this being a little different because the Democrats almost didn't have anyone running for a long time. Carl Gutierrez and Gary Gutierrez announced very late in the game. Do you think that hurt them?
I don't know. I think the progress that we've actually made from the 4 years that Governor Calvo and Governor Tenorio have actually been in there, I think it didn't really hurt them as much as essentially wanted, just basically kind of showed, like, here's already a strong governor and strong lieutenant governor who are holding these positions. Who is it that has the courage to be able to come up against them? And I think with Governor Gutierrez and Attorney Gumatauta actually throwing their hat in the ring, they did do it late in the game. I'm not quite sure if they came in March or April or even January or February that anything would have made a difference. I think that the history that we have within the past 4 years is very strong, and that's exactly what we think that we can do for the next 4 years after that.
All right. And how do you think the fundraising played a role? Calvo Tenorio spent $1.3 million, at least as of the last one, to I think Gutierrez had less than $200,000.
Well, the one thing that I can say about the Gutierrez camp is they actually did, and your previous guest actually said this, they did spend a lot of time, which doesn't require a lot of money, on social media. And social media is there and it's free. But a lot of what you do on Guam is face-to-face and being out with the people. And that's exactly what Governor Calvo and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio have actually is they're getting their names out there. They're getting that logo out there. They're getting the recognition. That we've got the right direction out there. We've got people to be buying in to the fact that everything that we've done in the past we can do again in the next 4 years, and that's exactly what's important for them. So as far as the money is concerned, the branding is one thing. But again, it's the issues that we've dealt with. It's the paying back of the refunds. It's making sure that Guam is in a better place now than we were 4 years ago, or a heck of a lot better than we were 12 years ago. So that's really what we're looking at. We're looking at what we've done in the past 4 years, and now we have the opportunity, I believe, to be able to say, all right, fine, in the next 4 years, we'll be 10 times better than we were 4 years ago.
All right, now there's been a lot of talk about, the Democrats spoke a lot about them sort of uniting their party. They felt that their party was a lot more united this time around. But the numbers so far aren't showing that. I mean, they're showing otherwise. There's more registered Democrats, and we were talking about it with Ken Perez and Francis Santos were up here earlier. And there are a lot more registered Democrats than there are Republicans. It's just the fact of the matter is there's more Democrats than Republicans on Guam. But with the Republican governor doing so well and so strong, does that show to you that you guys have pulled a lot of Democrat support?
In all honesty, in the seat that I sit in D.C., I think the politics between the Democrats and the Republicans should have ended tonight at 8 o'clock. Anyone who ends up in an elected position, whether it be governor or congressperson or congresswoman or any of those 15 seats of the legislature, they've been voted in by the people of Guam. Both Democrats and Republicans, they may not know who they are, so put those parties aside and let's start doing good for the people who actually put them into office. No matter what party they voted for, let's take a look at the policies that work. Let's see what's going to make this island work, and let's actually move forward to make sure that what gets done within the next 2 years for the legislature and the congresswoman, and then the next 4 years for the governor is really what the people of Guam want.
All right, very well said. Policy over politics.
Absolutely.
All right. What do you think about the Attorney General's race? I didn't get the last numbers that came in. I'm not sure if you have that, but the last numbers we had here did have Elizabeth Barrett Anderson in with a comfortable lead over Lenny Rapadas.
Yep. Actually, I have Elizabeth Barrett Anderson at 13,015, and then Attorney General Lenny Rapadas at 6,458.
Still in a comfortable lead.
Still in a comfortable lead, and again, she's just a tough candidate to come up against.
Former judge,
former senator, former attorney general.
Right.
So I think that's definitely.
There we go. There's the numbers: 13,015 to 6,458.
Yeah, it was right.
Elizabeth Barrett Anderson over Lenny Rapadas right now, and that's what most of the precincts in, and she's got almost more than half, right? Or
more than twice.
Half.
More than twice.
More than twice. Yeah. Sorry.
Yep.
More than double. More than double. And there's only 10 precincts to go, so looking very strong for Elizabeth Barrett Anderson right now over incumbent Lenny Rapadas. You said, yes, she's a very tough candidate, but it's kind of surprising, actually. It's pretty hard to unseat any incumbent. Whenever you're an incumbent, you already have an advantage. What do you think this means? Do you just think it means that Elizabeth just had a really strong name because of her previous experience as a judge and as a senator and AG?
I think unfortunately for the Attorney General, I think this means we're going to have a new Attorney General.
Yeah, it's definitely headed in that direction.
Yeah. And
you believe it's definitely headed in the right direction.
In the right direction. That's the direction we're going in.
All right. Now, with the Cabal Tenorio campaign, I know you're not too closely involved with the campaign, only because of the nature of your job. You're in Washington, D.C. Maybe you can tell us a little about what is it like working in D.C. with the Cabal Tenorio administration?
Actually, one of the things that helps me in D.C. is the fact that the governor is so fiscally responsible, and what we're looking at is everything that we do, we actually are there to be able to make sure that what we do helps the people of Guam. So in that essence, what we have is, with any leader, you can actually do what you can to be able to make sure that you're helping one person, and it's very easy to help one person and create a policy that helps that one person. But once you actually have to help an entire island of people when it comes to a policy, that's where it really starts to be able to get tough. So that's really kind of what we look at from a DC standpoint is how are the policies that we're working on going to help Guam? How is the buildup going to help Guam? How is the China Visa Waiver Program going to be a benefit to the economy? And growing the economy promoting the island and its visitors, promoting, the tourism, promoting every opportunity that we have, being where we are. That's the benefit of where I am, and building the relationships with all of the different people within Washington, D.C. is there to be able to make sure that this government gets recognized and that people actually start to realize that Guam is going to be a key player in Asia-Pacific strategy.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Jay.
No problem.
We're actually going to take a quick break, and we're going to tune into some other programming.
Future campaigns ahead, because I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, these next few years are going to be the most important years for the people of Guam. And that formula for success, for all of us coming together and not pointing fingers and sometimes turning the other cheek. And we've turned a lot of cheeks. But turning the other cheek, smiling not only our friends, but also smiling at our opposition. That if we all come together, then the dream of what Guam could be will be a reality. An island paradise. An island second to none. And of all the 54 states and territories of the Union, the best place to live, the best place to go home would be Guam. It's all about you, and it's all about love. So my dear people of Guam, thank you so much. God bless you. And now, with the mandate, whatever we've done in 4 years, well, that was at 30 miles per hour. We have 4 more years. I'm putting the pedal to the metal with my partner Ray and our administration. And since I'm with a former police officer, we're going to break the speed limit. 150 miles per hour. Past Mount Lam, past Mount Everest. But to the people of Guam, to the stars. God bless you. God bless you. I love you. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you all. Thank you. Oh, God. Now let's do some hugging and kissing, everybody. Celebrate a fun time.
All right, that was Governor Eddie Calvo. It sounds like a victory speech he's giving, but let's check in now with Janella Carreras at the University of Guam Fieldhouse for the final results, I believe, are in. Let's check in with Janella. Actually, Rebecca Kim is standing by. Rebecca.
Hey, good morning, Clint. It's already morning. We started off at 9, but time goes fast. All right, we have the latest result here, and so far, 44 precincts out of 58 precincts are counted so far. And let's go start with the gubernatorial race. We have Calvo Tenorio winning 17,035 votes, and that's about 64%. And Gutierrez Gumatao followed by Gutierrez 9,299 votes. And let's go to a senatorial race. We have Frank Blas Ogden, 17,350 votes, followed by Dennis Rodriguez, 16,525 votes. And Tony Ada, 15,370 votes. Jim Espaldon, 15,122 votes. Tommy Morrison, 14,526 votes. Thomas Ada, 14,307 votes, followed by Mary Camacho Torres, 13,396 votes. Narisa Underwood, 12,739 votes, followed by Judith Wonpat, 12,542 votes. Frank Blas is next, 12,516 votes, and Tinya Munya Barnes, 374 votes, followed by Michael St. Nicholas, 12,191 votes. BJ Cruz is next, 11,857 votes. Rory Respicio, 11,689 votes, followed by Brand McCready, 11,668 votes. And next is Aileen Yamashita, 11,525 votes. Chris Duenas is next, 11,327 votes. Will Castro has also garnered 10,859 votes. Now let's go to the delegate race. Bordalio continues to win with 15,531 votes, and that's about 57.9%, followed by Metcalf, 11,209 votes. And AG's race here, Judge Barrett Anderson continues to win with 66%, and that's about 17,371 votes, followed by Lenny Rapata, 8,813 votes. And finally, the one that all of you guys are wondering, it is medicinal marijuana referendum. So far, 14,533 people says yes to that. That's about 55%, and 11,615 people says no. That's about 44%. So yes, it's still winning so far. Hey, Clint, it is getting kind of tired there, but you guys look very lively right there. Roselle and Blake, you guys don't look tired at all. Janella and I are here, kind of like makeup is, all getting off, and caffeine is our buddy right now. Clint?
And Rebecca, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Rebecca, that report. Great job over there at University of Guam Fieldhouse. Of course, the votes are in, and they're at 17,035 votes for Calvo Tenorio to 9,299 votes for Gutierrez Gumatao. And now I believe that was 44 of 58 precincts. I'm not sure. Earlier we were reporting 48. I'm not too sure. We're going to have to confirm that. We should be checking in with Blake Watson shortly, if Blake Watson is standing by, to find out what Governor Calvo's speech was about. If not, let's take a short break and we'll be back after this.
Tony Atta, 19,351 votes. Jim Espaldon, 18,582. Tommy Morrison, 18,525. Tom Atta with 18,177. Mary Torres, 16,980. Narissa Underwood, 16,057. Judy Wanpat, 16,018 votes. Mike St. Nicholas, 15,917 votes. Tina Munya Barnes, 15,831. Frank Blas Jr., 15,735. BJ Cruz, 15,281. Rory Respicio with 15,000 exactly. Brant McCready at 14,740 votes. Those are your top 15 vote getters. The following three after that is Aileen Yamashita, 14,445 votes. Chris Duenas at 14,305 votes, and Will Castro at 13,846 votes. And right now they are actually telling us which precincts are part of this, so it's a little confusing right now as to what's going on. They are giving us updates on which precincts were just counted. Now let's move on over to the Attorney General race. We have Elizabeth Barrett Anderson with 22,092 votes, and Lenny Rapadas, 11,036 votes. So that's nearly double. EBA got nearly double what the votes that Lenny Rapadas got. It over at the delegate race. Madeline Bordalio is out again on top at 19,679 votes, and Margaret Metcalf, 14,189 votes. Now, moving on over to the medical marijuana referendum, we have about 18,674 yes votes, 14,453 no votes, and that's 56% in favor, 43% not in favor of medical marijuana referendum. And again, this is about 57 of the precincts out of the 58 precincts have been counted so far. So this is nearly everything. I assume within a few minutes we'll get all the votes tallied up, and hopefully we'll have those results for you in just a few. Again, this is Janella Kerr reporting live from the UOG Fieldhouse. Now back to Clint in the P&C studio.
All right, thanks. That's Janella Carrera from the University of Guam Fieldhouse reporting live with some of the latest numbers there. And let's talk a little about medical marijuana. Came in at 18,677 yes votes to 14,453 no votes. And again, that's what most of the precincts reported. I'm not sure what the exact number of precincts reported was, but stay tuned. We'll have the very latest after this. Let's check in with Coffee with the Candidates.